Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are back with another very special guest, Kurt the Hurt Holobaugh. How we doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, man, dude, thank you for coming on, bro. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
So
no
let's just go
worries.
ahead and get straight into it, Kurt. So I'm not wasting too much of your time, bro. How did you get started in MMA?
Just in general, being a fight fan. When I was a kid, it didn't matter what it was. Could have been the Power Rangers, could have been Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, Chuck Norris movies. Didn't matter. Boxing on TV. Back before it was UFC. But if it was something to do with fighting, I was interested in it. And just as I started to get older and boxing got a little bit more relevant with like Mike Tyson and Holyfield, then started going on to the UFC. Man, I had some uncles always talk about, oh, I'm gonna go fight in the cage, and I'm like, all right, but that would be awesome. And then I graduated high school, and they had a few guys started cage fighting that I knew I went graduated with, and I'm like, man, if they can do it, I can do it. So found a gym, started training.
How old were you when you got into the gym?
I think I just made 21.
Oh, so okay, so dude, because I felt so late. So I'm 26 right now. I was 22
Mm-hmm.
when I started, and dude, before that, all I played was just football and baseball. That was it. Did you play
Right.
any of the sports too?
I played football, or I guess you can call it playing football. My freshman year, I was so small, the coach didn't even let me put pads on, right? And didn't get to play. Wouldn't let me dress out. Finally, the last game of the season, as a fresh in my freshman year, he finally let me put my pads and stuff on and let me sit on the sideline. But other than that, man, and then I quit. My senior year, I started playing again. I was a little bit bigger. I might have been around 150, 155 pounds.
What position were you
Um,
playing?
Receiver and defensive back.
Let's go, baby. Little slot receiving Kurt, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, man. And when I was by the time I was a senior, I did get a little bit of playing time. It depends. I played special teams, and if we were losing by 30, I might get to go in at the end of the game, or if we were winning by 30, I might get to go in at the end of the game. So I got a little bit of playing time as a senior, but still not like a senior should. And I
Yeah.
wasn't. I don't think I was bad at football. Just small, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, man, look at me now.
Did you go to a big school or a small school?
It was a small school, Albany,
Yeah.
Louisiana.
So did you get any street fights or anything in high school, man?
Oh yeah, man. Not really so much. I did get in a few fights in high school. Like I said, I was on the smaller end, man. I might have got picked on a few times, but there was one time where I fought the biggest kid in the school just because he kept messing with me. And I always think I did very well with everybody. So I knew I was always a fighter.
So, dude, because that's always like blown my mind about like fighting and like how like the guys I've spoken to of guys how they've gotten into fighting. Like Jason Knight, when I talked to Jason Knight, he was like, dude, I knew this was gonna eventually happen. I was 12 years old, fighting 15 years old. My brother would take me down to middle of nowhere in the woods and fight kids, like all these types of stories. And then you saying you were 21 when you started is crazy to me, bro. Because when I was 22 starting, I was like, this is pointless. I'm not gonna like get anywhere with this. And the fact that you're 21 when you started, dude, you've been in the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, dude, you fought everywhere. You fought a Cage Warrior, Titan, XFC, UFC, the Ultimate Fighter. Like Kurt, dude, did you ever think like do you remember what gym you started at training when you were 21? Did you remember being like, dude, I'm going to the UFC, or were you just doing it to switch it up?
So I'm still training in the same gym that I started when I was 21.
That's
And
badass, dude.
I walked through the door just wanting to be a cage fighter, not really thinking and never in my mind that I really say, hey, one day I'm gonna make the UFC because I'm from a small town, from not really I'm not gonna say a poor family, but I'm from a family that doesn't come from anything. So in my mind, stuff like that don't happen to me. I never had hopes or anything in fighting the UFC. It was just a dream. And as I started fighting, that dream started to become a little more reality. But when I first started fighting, it was only just to be a cage fighter, just to have fun doing it.
What
Never
year
even
was
thought about
this?
making money off of it. 2008, 2007, maybe.
2008. Yeah, dude. So back then there really wasn't any money in it like that. You literally were just like, dude, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. And like the local promotion, there was barely any local promotions. Now you have a fight a week. There's so many promotions in Louisiana
Yeah.
now, and every other week that promoter is putting on a show. Back then, it was like only two or three, and you had to wait for that call or your coach had to match you up. But so yeah,
And you're not getting paid for it back then at all. And it's like when you took your first fight,
well, yeah,
do you remember where you took your first fight at? Like what weight it was at and
yep.
all that?
Yeah, so I started out at 170 pounds, and I fought for a organization in Louisiana, which was called Louisiana Fighting Championship, I believe. And they actually did a really big show. So to me, this was the UFC. It was in the Raising Cane's River Center in Baton Rouge. Huge show that because that's a big place, that's a big arena, and it was like sold out. The crowd was amazing, and I thought like that in the UFC. You know, this is a huge show. I fought 170 pounds. I got the win, like first round triangle. And then moving on, fighting my next show, I go from fighting Raising Cane River Center to a rodeo arena full of dirt. I'm like, dang. The first fight was a lot cooler. But yeah, zero money, man. As an amateur, you know, you don't get paid anything.
No,
You
you
get your
don't.
hotel paid for if you have to travel, and you maybe get a little bit of gas money.
Dude, that's literally what it is. My first fight, we went to Dallas and I was like, all right, so like, do I get like a check afterwards or anything to my coach? And he was like, dude, you're lucky I'm paying for your hotel tonight. What are you talking about? Like you get money after this. Do you remember how your first fight went? Did you win or lose?
No, I won. I actually, um, I started off my amateur career at 8-0, so
Oh
undefeated as an
damn,
amateur.
Kurt.
Yeah, I had some tough fights, man. I think I had a couple decisions, but majority of them were finishes. And you know, something that I always remember my coach Raphael said to me after my fourth amateur fight, and it was my first title winning also. But we got back to the gym like the next week, and he said, "Can't wait to see you fight in the UFC." And I'm thinking, "Oh man, that'll never happen." But that's cool, you know. Your coach will tell you that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so you know, I went 8-0 as an amateur, and we decided, hey, I think you know, 8 good wins. Let's go pro. Let's go do as a pro fight. So I'm like, all right, cool. So yeah, we started looking for fights for a pro debut and went pro.
Where was your pro debut at? Because you're from Louisiana, right?
Yep. So actually, for the same organization that I have a bunch of guys fighting this Saturday. Even my two sons are gonna do a matches and fights.
No way, dude. What's it called?
CWC Cage Warrior Championship.
Shout out, dude.
So yeah, so
Dude,
that's who I did my pro debut with. Promoter named Justin Vernon.
how old are your kids fighting right now?
Well, my youngest is 4. He's gonna do a grappling match,
Oh, damn.
and my 13-year-old, he's gonna do. This will be like his 8th or 9th fight. He's gonna do an MMA fight, youth MMA, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, body punch, knee to the body, kick to the body, just nothing to the head. So,
Dude, that's sick. I didn't know they did stuff like that, dude.
yep.
Kurt, God, I wish I was your son, dude. I was 13 years old playing football, being like, I might go to the NFL at 5'10". Dude, that's badass, bro.
Yep.
Um,
Thank you.
so what did they think about you being in the UFC and like when you had to go on the Ultimate Fighter with Chandler and McGregor? What did they think about all that, dude? I mean, because he was probably 9, 10 when that happened.
Yeah. So I mean, they love it, you know, and that was really a big reason why I went to that show because when I originally got the call for that, you know, I hadn't fought in 2 years, you know, and I
Yeah.
was, you know, still I was signed with Eagle, which is Khabib Nurmagomedov's promotion, so I was still yet to make my debut in Eagle because the contract we finally got the contract signed, and opponents got thrown around a couple times,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, I'm about to just fucking retire, you know, and
Oh,
um, then out the blue, my manager hits me up, said, "Hey, I sent you an Ultimate Fighter application. I think this is going to be good for us. Go fill it out." And I'm like, "Man, I don't know if I want to do this." I'm 36 years old.
Yeah.
And my kids was like, why are you not going to do that? My wife was like, you need to do that. My training partners was like, you need to do that. So I'm like,
Dude, that's
all
badass.
right, I'm going to do it. So,
Dude. So like, do you remember like, so like when they called you up, how long did you have until they were like, hey man, this is when the show starts. This is when we need you out here in Vegas.
it was a couple weeks. And I remember I didn't know how serious the details was because it was only, hey, I sent you the application, go fill it out. I got you an interview Tuesday, and it might have been 2 days for the interview. So
Shout out your
like, okay,
manager, Kurt.
yeah. So yeah, my manager hooked all that at Sucker Punch Entertainment, man. Brian Butler, Brian Hamper, Chris Creech, great guys. Um, so yeah, they called me, got me the interview. So I did the interview with the Ultimate Fighter producer Joey, I believe it was, and I seemed like it felt like the interview went good, And my manager called me right afterwards, and Brian said, "Man, how you think it went?" I'm like, I think it went good. He's like, "All right, good, good." Next thing you know, I'm still like, I don't know if this is a for sure thing. Like I'm only doing
Yeah.
interview and application, and actually, it was the week of the same event that's going on Saturday. It was another Cage Warrior Championship. I had my son fighting. I had a bunch of other of my students fighting. And I remember that morning, my manager called and said, "Hey, they need you to go take a drug test like tomorrow." And I'm like, "Holy shit, this might actually happen." Like,
Yeah,
so the
yeah.
next Monday, I go, I take the drug test that they need me to take. And he's like, the next day after that, maybe, my manager hits me up and says, "Hey, you're in." And I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like I'm about to go to the Ultimate Fighter. So probably 2 weeks before. But when he called me and said you're in, he's like, "You're leaving like tomorrow," and I'm like, "Damn, that's like no time at all." So luckily they wasn't quite ready, and they pushed it back another week. So I got to spend another week just kind of like prepping and
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
everything ready because I own two gyms. I had to make sure everything's covered with my gyms and covered with my kids and my wife. And by that time, the Ultimate Fighter producers actually sent me a camera out so I can do all the home videos
Oh, they sent
on
you
the
a
little
camera
camera
for
they
that?
sent. Yep.
Oh, I thought y'all were just doing it off
So
your phone and like you sent it in to somebody. I was always wondering that, man.
yeah, no, they sent like a little camera out, a little camera you walk around with, man. It kind of like turns and zooms on everything. So yeah, they sent that and we did a bunch of home video, which I definitely think I did one of the best home videos anybody's ever seen. If you watch the Ultimate Fighter and seen the home video, but yeah, it was cool.
Dude, let me tell you, the coolest thing about your family was when they gave y'all a call back to your family and you were about to fight Jason and y'all
Yep.
both had a call and both y'all's family knew each other.
Yeah.
That's what was crazy. Cause I was like, Jason from Mississippi? And then like hearing like your family reaction to fighting, like, yeah, I got Jason Knight. And it was for to go to the finals. So that made it even more like fuck. And for me, dude, I was rooting for you, Jason, and Roosevelt. That was the three guys. I was like, one of these three have to win it. And then when you and Jason fought, I was like, fuck, man. They're going against each other. And dude, Kurt, holy fucking shit. I watched that fight about 30 minutes ago before you got on. Fuck, dude. Dude. I mean, you can see it in Connor's face, Dana's face. Everyone's there. Like when the whole fight's going on in between the rounds. Dude, that was fucking brutal. You'd have thought you and Jason fucking hated each other. I talked to Jason about it, and he was like, dude, I didn't expect that shit from Kurt because y'all were sparring all the time. And he was like, it'd be 15-50 most of the time, and we wouldn't really land no clean shots on each other. So I felt kind of going good into it. And then he said, Kurt fucking rung my ass up.
Yeah, man. So I've been knowing Jason for a long time prior to the Ultimate Fighter. We were supposed to fight on a local show in Mississippi in like 2012.
No
He was
shit,
like
dude.
7-0, and I was 4-0 as a professional. So the promoter's like, "Hey, man, I got the two best guys, the guys with the most talent. We're putting these guys to fight each other." Well, long story short, the fight never happened. I think Jason got into a car wreck, had to pull out of the fight.
Oh,
So I fought
fuck.
another guy. So me and Jason never got that fight. But every time we go to the local shows in Mississippi and stuff like that, because we live maybe an hour and a half from each other. So
Yeah.
we're always when I got teammates fighting, he probably had teammates fighting. We're there. Hey, what's up, man? We talk a lot, and then next thing you know, and I even trained with him. We went out to Team Alpha Male years back, like 2018. Him and Brandon
Oh
Davis went to
shit.
Alpha Male, and I was out there too. So we trained together a little bit out there. And next thing you know, I see him, and I even heard, hey, yeah, Jason got the call too. He's going to Ultimate Fighter. So I see him out there, and we both get on the show. We both get on the same team. Then we become roommates. We become
Yeah.
boys. We're training together every day.
Yeah.
And but if you watch the show, so you see me and
Yeah.
Jason was like, we got to do it. It's got to be me and you. It's finally has to happen because you're never going to get a better stage to do it on. So that's why we went into Dana's office when we was saying, hey, I want to fight. Who you want to fight for the semis? And I said, look, give me Jason Knight fight. It's a fight that's been supposed to happen for about 12 years. Mississippi versus Louisiana. Both Southern boys. Like let's put it on. And Jason said the same thing. And of course, man, thank God that's the fight the UFC made because they have a hell of a classic fight as Ultimate Fighter.
Dude, that'll go down as the top three. Top three, dude. That was fucking brutal. And it was only 2 rounds. It got stopped in the second round. Ferric, about that fight, dude. What was your feelings like in the back walking out to that fight to fight Jason? Like, how are you feeling about it?
Man, I mean, I felt good about it, and like you kind of said, when me and Jason spar, we don't land clean shots. I don't think I'm the best sparring guy in the gym, right? I never spar in the gym like it's a fight. It's just sometimes I just can't bring myself to just go wide open in a spar session in the gym. Yeah, I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna throw some punches. I'm gonna wrestle. I'm gonna box. Whatever I got to do. But and that was one of the biggest things about me being on that show and on the team in training. I felt like all the coaches thought that I might have been the weakest link just because I'm not in there slaughtering everybody in the training room. But I mean, that's not me. That's not the way I train. I train hard every day. I'm going to train. I'm going to push the limits. But as far as just going out there to be the toughest guy in the gym, that's not me. And I think some guys kind of get that confused, and then they see me go fight in the cage, and I destroy the guy.
Oh.
And then the coaches come back to him, and they're like, "Where does that come from?" I'm like what you mean? He's like, "You don't do that in the gym." And I'm like, I know. And I've always said, man, look, I can't go 100% in the gym because if I go 100% in the gym, what else do I have to put into that cage fight? So I'm always like, I might, the most I'll probably, no matter what, even if I want to go 100%, I can't. I'll say, okay, so I might go 80% max. And that's the hardest that I can go in a training room because I need that extra 20% whenever I get into that live fight in the cage. I got to have that 20 extra percent. So that's something I've always said, and I feel like I've kind of stood by that. And I think that's why, I surprised a lot of guys in the fight. Just like with Austin, man. When I trained with Austin, I couldn't hold Austin down. I think I do well on the feet with anybody in the gym. Jiu-jitsu, man, I can move. But as far as like wrestling, I can't take Austin down. I can't hold Austin down. I can't submit Austin in the training room. And then you look at us in the fight and you see how it went. So I'm like, that's why I don't do that in the training room because I got to have that extra 20% to do that in the fight.
Dude, that's literally exactly what I try to do too, bro. I try to do the exact same thing, Kurt. Exact same fucking thing, dude. And dude, I mean, it pays off for you, dude, because when you fight, I mean, I got a couple questions right here from Twitter I was gonna ask you. One of them is literally tell Kurt when the fuck is he gonna fight in front of a crowd again? This dude brings a fucking show. Like, dude, like I mean, when you fucking fight, dude, it's a fucking scrap, son.
Yeah, man. I think they might be keeping me in the apex because they like the way that it sounds when I make the punches land. I don't know,
Oh,
but
bro, it's
yeah, I would
crazy.
love to be back in front of a crowd.
It's crazy. That whole fight, when I was rewatching it like probably 30, 40 minutes before we hopped on, because I was like, let me rewatch this again. Dude, the shots are stupid. I couldn't imagine getting hit with half of that shit and standing. Dude, so right after the fight, what happens then? Do you and Jason go in the back, or y'all like back there getting, because obviously he had to see the doctor. Is Chandler and Ryan Bader like, what the
Right.
fuck was that about? Because y'all were on the same team.
Yep. So the way that worked, okay, that was literally the last day we were in the house.
No
So
shit.
and we knew that. We knew, hey, we're going to fight, then we're coming home, we pack our shit, and we're going to the hotel. So we wasn't even
Oh,
gonna stay in the house again. That was literally the last day. So
holy
of course,
fuck.
me and Jason fight. Right after the fight, I see him in the back for a quick second, give him a hug, dap him up, all the respect in the world to each other. And next thing you know, I hear that they took him to the hospital, and I'm like, "Oh man, like, damn!" I hated to hear they took him to the hospital. So, and I'm hoping everything's good with him. So, me, Roosevelt, Austin, a lot of the teammates that got close in the house, you do all your interviews after the fight, and we're sitting into like the kind of like the little weight room, little whatever, the Apex.
Yeah.
And Roosevelt breaks out his Casamigos that he's been waiting on until the end of the show. So he's like, all right, let's everybody do a shot. And I'm, the whole time, of course, I'm happy, but I'm like, Jason's not here to get this shot with us, man. So, me, uh, Austin, Rowe, Hunter Ajar, maybe even Cody Gibson. I can't remember exactly because Cody fought the same day too. Man, we go back, we hit a couple shots in the weight room, waiting for the bus, man. Then we go back home, but it's like instantly, everybody's excited to go home because everybody's getting their phones back, everybody's packing up their stuff, and then, but at the same time, everybody's kind of like, man, this has been fun, boys, but we miss you, boys, but we're out of here. And then Jason comes up behind me and grabs me. You can't believe you did that to me. I'm like, damn. Hope you're good. Like, I'm glad to see you. And I said, you good? And I said, oh yeah, I'm good. They just want to take me and check me out. So we might even had a beer or a shot or something in the house while everybody's doing their final interviews and stuff.
Dude, Jason could have his fucking eyeball hanging out and be like, "No, man, I'm fine. We're
No,
good,
for
baby." And
sure.
you're like, "Dude, your eyeball's hanging out. What the fuck you talking about?" Kurt, that's so fucking crazy. Because how long were you in the house for, too?
So it's probably in the house for a little over 4 weeks total. In the
Damn.
house, locked down. The thing that you don't really see a lot of is,
Please tell
or
me.
you don't see any of it, is before you go into the house, you're still out there in Vegas. You're locked in a hotel room for about 2 weeks while you do your medical,
Shit.
your final interviews. Yeah, and it's not just like you can come and go. That you don't even have a room key. They take your room key and say, "Hey, you can't leave this room. You're locked up. We don't want
Fuck.
you out in Vegas. We don't want you partying. We don't want you going around training. We don't want you talking." They say, "Zip it.
For
You
two
can't talk to
weeks?
nobody." 2 weeks.
Fuck.
So yeah, that's the process of the Ultimate Fighter.
So when you do they pay you for being out there for 4 weeks? Because like, how did you support your family while you're gone? Like, does your family just keep doing normal shit, I guess, while you're not there? Like,
Yeah. I mean, you don't get paid nothing.
really? Dude, I figured that
You're
I was like,
taking the
maybe they probably
chance
get
and
them
the
like a
opportunity.
$5,000 check.
Yeah. So when we left the house, you got like a $5,000 check, something like that. They wrote you out when you leave. But as far as like being in a hotel, you're not getting paid for any of that, man. You're basically, when you go on the Ultimate Fighter, you're going for the opportunity. You're not getting paid for it. You're not making $1 million being on the Ultimate Fighter.
How did you feel being there with Chandler and Connor? How was that? Did
Uh,
you
it
coach
was
it?
it was great, man. I feel like that's what really made the show, having Connor and Chandler, two of the biggest names, and Connor being the biggest name, in the UFC. So I feel like that's what made our show really, really good. I thought the theme to our show was really good, the vets versus the prospects. Um, but yeah, man, it was awesome. Hats off to Chandler, man. He did an outstanding job coaching us. Um, Excellent coach. Can't say the same about Connor. I don't really know. I just know what I seen, I guess, with Connor. But
How
no,
was it
man,
being
it
around
was
him?
awesome being on camera.
How was it being around Connor?
Exactly what you would expect. He's
Yeah.
cool some nights, and then he's not the others. So yeah, that I think that's just typical Conor McGregor.
Yeah. So so you go out the Ultimate Fighter house, you have a fucking 50 fucking K fight with Jason Knight. How long to when you get home till the episode drops?
We actually had a couple months, man. I want to say,
Oh shit.
yeah, we probably got out of there sometime like at the end of March. I want to say, uh, probably June the show aired. So we actually had 3 or 4 months maybe.
Damn. So
Because
you
I
had to
know
keep everything low key.
the final episode. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You're not supposed to talk about it,
Damn, dude. So when
of
you
course.
get back, like your friends that haven't seen you in 4 weeks and you didn't tell them, are they like, where you been, dude? And you're just like, I was at the Ultimate Fighter House in Vegas.
Yeah. So of course everybody knew, everybody out of my gym. I run 2 gyms. I have a lot of students. I have a lot of teammates.
That's good,
Everybody
man.
pretty much. Uh, everybody knew where I was.
Oh, sweet, sweet.
But nobody knew how it went. Of course, I had a few close friends and family members I would talk to, and soon as I got my phone back, of course, I called my wife, called some of my family members, called my manager. Said, hey, bro, we're going to the finals. So, so yeah, so I had some that knew, and then I had some that didn't.
Man, that must have felt so good, dude. Call your manager who got you in there last minute. You don't even think it's about to happen. You're going to your son's fight. Next thing you know, you're getting drug tested. You're on a plane. You're out there. Have two amazing fights. Had to fight a prospect and then had to fight Jason. And then you know when you're about to have to fight Austin in the finals. You get back and tell your manager, hey, dude, we did it, baby.
Yeah. And
Damn,
that
that's
was
great.
and really that's all I can think about. Like when I was in there, I'm like, dude, how freaking cool would it be to get that phone back, call my wife, I'm in the finals, call my manager, I'm in the finals, man, I did it. So I thought about that a lot throughout the time being in the house. So when I was finally able to do it, it was one of the best feelings I could ever felt in my life.
And was this your third time being back into the UFC?
It was actually, I made my UFC debut back in 2013.
Yes, you did.
Short stint, after one fight in the UFC, which was an amazing fight. Um, for reasons unknown, the UFC cut me, and went back on the local circuit, signed with some regional organizations, Titan FC, won a couple championships with them. Still had a tough road, man, fighting a lot of tough guys, fought in Russia while I was out of the UFC, and won a couple fights, got on a win streak, beat Jay-Z Cavalcanti for the Titan lightweight title.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just signed with Sucker Punch like around that time. And they called me and said, hey, got you an opportunity on the Contender Series. What do you think? And at this time, I had just went back to 155 pounds with no thoughts of going back to 145 pounds. But when they called me for the Contender Series, they said this fight's going to be at 145 pounds. Though. I'm like, all right, man, I'm in. I'm going to do it. And wound up winning my second contract on the Contender Series. Um, got suspended for 9 months after that fight for using an IV. They
I was
overturned
gonna
my
ask
fight.
about that, dude.
Yep. So I won the fight by knockout. I wasn't under USADA, so I thought that I could still use an IV to rehydrate because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, man, it's been a little while since I cut to 145 pounds. Don't even think I needed the IV. I just wanted it because I thought that it was available.
Yeah.
Even during the weigh-in process, when I was weighing in, I even told the commissioner or whoever was getting my paperwork that yes, I'm gonna do an IV. Nobody said nothing about it. I even checked it off on my paperwork and everything like that. So after the fight was over, the next week or two, whenever I'm doing all of my stuff for USADA because I got the contract for the UFC, um, USADA calls me and they're like, "What is this 200 milligrams of saline solution?" I'm like, "Oh, that was a IV. Did I use? Oh, you use an IV? Yeah." I told the person I was going to do it. Oh man, I'm going to have to report this because under Nevada, you can't use an IV. And I'm like, I told them. Why nobody told me? So, long story short, yeah, I had kind of like a little court hearing. Got suspended for 9 months, but I think killed some of the momentum. Little fine that I think my manager, Sucker Punch, took care of for me. So yeah, man, I fought 9 months later. I had another tough road in the UFC and dropped some fights and got released again.
Yeah, dude, because I think people, that's why I wanted to ask that. We got about 5 or 10 minutes left with you, Kurt. So I wanted to ask that before we got out of here, too. People don't realize, man, you fought in Strike Force 2013. You fought on the John Jones, Chael Sonnen card on UFC 159,
Yep.
man. And like you said, you had that 9 month suspension. You came back and fought fucking Ione Barsolis, and he's a fucking gangster, man. You had fight of the night in that. Then they're like, cool, have
Yep.
fun with that. Here's Shane Burgos, who's a fucking dog. And then after that, it's like, oh,
Yep.
you had fun with that. Here's Thiago Moises. You're like, God damn, dude. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
you had a
Um,
fucking hard road in there too, right when you got back in it.
yeah, for sure, man. But see, at the same time, I've always took pride in that because I'm like, I ain't fought no cans in the UFC. I never got any gimmies. Even from the Strike Force
No.
fight, when my manager at the time called me and said, "Hey, bud, got a good opportunity for you. How would you like to fight on the final Strike Force card?" He said, "Just to let you know, the UFC bought Strike Force, so you go in and you do well. The UFC, it's a big possibility the UFC will take you." I'm like, "All right, cool. Who's the opponent?" He said, "Well, it's a tough opponent. So you get Pat Healy, you get the number one contender that is supposed to fight Gilbert Melendez for the Strikeforce title." Gilbert Melendez pulled out, which, if you remember, Gilbert Melendez goes straight to the UFC and fights, I think, Anthony Pettis for the
Yep.
UFC lightweight title. So I take
Yep.
on Pat Healy, who's the number one contender in Strikeforce, give him a good fight. Didn't win the fight, but it was a good showing. Sean Shelby comes to the back afterwards, says, "Hey, how would you like to come fight in the UFC?" I'm like, "Man, yeah, let's do it." Like, of course. And they give me Steven Styler, who was, I think, the perfect opponent for me. Didn't get the job done against Styler. Um, got released, come back, fought Ione Barcelos, which is also a newcomer to the UFC, but, you know, look at what he's done in the UFC after me. He got ranked in the
Dog.
top 15, which it seems like everybody that I fought got ranked. So
Mm-hmm.
Barcelos got ranked.
Shane
I fight
Burgos.
Shane Burgos. Have an awesome fight with Shane Burgos, man. I drop Shane Burgos and I just lose my train of thought whenever I'm trying to kill him. I'm like, fuck it. He's hurt. Let me just try to kill him and make a
Yeah.
stupid mistake, leave my arm in, defend everything wrong. Just stuff happens so fast there, you don't have time to even
Yeah.
think, you know. But look at what Shane Burgos did, man. Went on to be ranked, was co-headlining cards. Um, and then Thiago Moises, same thing. I go fight him in his hometown, um, lose a decision. He gets ranked. He's fighting Makachev. He's fighting all these other big names. I think he headlined with Makachev, so he
He
might even been
did.
the main
Yeah.
event.
Yeah.
So I've always fought a tough guy, so I've always taken pride in that, saying that I fought a murderous row in the UFC. Never any gimme fights, and then you go into the Ultimate Fighter, which is I'm fighting UFC veterans now and prospects. I fight Conor McGregor's highly talented prospect Lee Hammond, who's a beast,
Beast.
and then I got to turn around and fight Jason and Austin, who is two other UFC vets and done very well in the UFC. You know, so I don't get easy fights in the UFC, man.
Nah, Kurt, you're the man, bro. You're literally a fucking straight up dog. That's just what it is, bro. I got 5 minutes left with you, Kurt, and I want to ask these two questions I got from Twitter for you, brother, if that's all right, man. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna
man.
let you get on with your day. I know you're a very busy man. Y'all fucking go follow Kurt Holobaugh if you want to see some fucking fights. Two quick questions. One is from It's Ishmael. What is your worst injury you have received since fighting?
So I got a pretty bad one actually. I don't remember the exact year, maybe 2014. I'm gonna guess 2014. I fought Lloyd Cupcake Woodard in Titan FC, and tough guy, man. Lloyd Woodard, he fought a lot of big names, beat Pitbull in Bellator, fought
Oh
Michael
shit.
Chandler, fought some guys. So I'm like, man, I go out there. The fight only lasts 15 seconds. I knock him out in the first round, 15 seconds. But in the process, I somehow managed to break my patella in half.
Oh,
So literally what that means, I broke my kneecap in half.
oh, dude.
So
Kurt.
you can go back and you can actually watch this fight on YouTube and on Google or wherever you can find it. So I open up with an inside leg kick, but he kind of does the same and the knees collide. And I'm like, damn, that hurt like more than it would. So I throw another inside leg kick, follow with an overhand, knock him out. And I'm excited, right? So I go to jump on the cage. Whenever I plant my leg to the ground to jump, I can hear the complete knee just rip off. So
Stop,
it
Kurt. Oh,
separated. So the top of my kneecap pulled up into my quadricep. So I had no movement in my leg. I couldn't bend my knee, couldn't move my leg. And it was bad, man. My knee was completely black. I had to have surgery to reconstruct it all. So it was a bad injury.
Kurt, that sounds terrible, dude. Well, what was the recovery? How long was the recovery from that?
Man, I felt like I made a really fast recovery, but probably 7, 8 months.
Dude, yeah, that is fast. I thought you were gonna say a year to 2 years.
Yeah. And my very next fight after that was Desmond Green for the Titan featherweight title.
Oh, Kurt. Dude, how old were you when this happened?
Probably 28,
Oh,
29.
so still like 7 years in your MMA career.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh, what a brutal fucking injury, man. Second
Yeah, it
question
was
for you,
bad.
man, and we'll get you out of here on this, Kurt. What is your favorite walkout song you've ever walked out to?
Favorite walkout song, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Um, but man, I'm gonna have to go with the song that I've been walking out to a lot lately in my past couple fights is Brantley Gilbert, Take It Outside. And so far I
Damn,
haven't
that's the
lost a fight
one?
with that song, so it's kind of up in the air. That might be, yeah, that might be my walkout song for this because I did change it last time. My last fight I changed it just because they had a song that played on The Ultimate Fighter,
Yeah.
Never, when I was getting out of the band to go fight Lee Hammond. And my son walks out to the song and he wanted me to walk out to the song, so I did it. But I might change it back.
That's cool as hell, man. Kurt, you're the fucking man. Tell the people where to find you at, brother, and I can get you out of here, big dog.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Kurt the Hurt Holobaugh. Give me a follow. Follow me on Twitter, Kurt.Holobaugh, and keep up with me, man.
Man, you're the absolute man, Kurt. When is your next fight, too, by the way?
July 20th, UFC Fight Night, Las Vegas, in the Apex, so you can hear all the shots land.
Here's some fucking violence, folks. Colt the Hurt Holobaugh, S-Dogs MMA Talk. Kurt, you are the fucking man, bro. Would love to have you on again anytime, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate having me on. Good show.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.